Buenas tardes todos. Good afternoon. This is Abelardo de la Peña Jr., Director of Marketing and Communications with La Plaza de Cultura y Artes. Welcome you to En Casa con La Plaza Cocina. 3 times a week, we've been bringing you the best of our community's history, art, and culture from our home to yours via these presentations, conversations, performances, and today a demonstration. We've been doing it since April 2020, and we've been every Monday been bringing you En Casa con La Plaza Cocina, which are our cooking demonstrations. Our sponsors, PepsiCo and Kaiser Permanente. If you're on Facebook, please start a watch party. Use the comment section to let us know where you're viewing from. You could ask questions, make comments. I'll be passing them on to our host. Those of you on Zoom, also please use the chat section to make comments. Let us know where you're viewing from. And also the Q&A, we have that there. Ask your questions. We may answer them after the demonstration or most likely during the demonstration. All right, and to guide us through the demonstration, we have with us today Ximena Martin, our Director of Programming and Culinary Arts. Please join us, Ximena.
Good afternoon. It's so nice. Thank you, Everaldo. We have a very special guest all the way from San Diego, Maribel Gomez. She is from Vegan Chicana. Maribel is a kitchen bruja, recipe developer, and community educator. She's a femme Chicana Mexicana, currently based in San Diego, California. She proudly grew up in La Puente, California, and is the daughter of a Mexican immigrants from Sidrita, Jalisco. She received her bachelor's in Chicana studies and design and a minor in gender studies and her master's in Chicana studies. Has over 12 years of working with social justice and organizations. Her specializations include gender and sexuality and food justice. Today, she is going to be making us cauliflower mango ceviche and a vegan Michelada mix with Jamaica Chamoy. I'd like to introduce you to Maribel. Hey, Maribel.
Hi, I'm Maribel. I use she, her, and hers. And ella is my pronoun. So I'm so happy to be with you all today and sharing a little bit of food with you.
Tell us a bit more. I love your logo at Puerquito. How did that come around? You got like the vegan thing going on, but then you have a Puerquito as a logo. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, the Puerquito came about. So the reason why I stopped eating meat was when I was in high school and we had to dissect a fetal pig, and that really made me really sad, right? And since then, I kind of like have thought about that moment that was really pivotal in me stopping to eat meat, right? And so when I thought about a logo, I was like, oh, I looked at my altar and I had a little puerquito because my grandma used to actually raise pigs in Mexico. And so I have that to remember her. And I thought about that and I was like, oh my gosh, food connection to my family, like, and so I drew up the logo and it reminds me of her, but it also reminds me of why I went vegetarian and then later vegan in my life.
Oh, great. So tell us how you started your business, Chicana studies, gender, design, how that all kind of turned around and starting your cooking.
Yeah, I've always been really creative, and I watched a lot of Food Network growing up, Martha Stewart, not Food Network, PBS, and then like Martha Stewart and cooking, and it's just been something that I'm really passionate about. And throughout my time learning, I've realize that that's something that I'm passionate about, that through food there's so much memory and there's so much, and especially being vegan, right? I want to remember the flavors of my community, my culture, and so I've been learning to adapt recipes so that I still remember that, because I don't want a lot of the recipes and flavors to get lost with my generation, right? Especially with like my family migrating from Mexico, and so like a lot of the traditions like slowly can be lost. And in learning about like Chicana studies, like that was something that was really important, right? Like remembering the resistance of our people. And so I've kind of connected all of my interests into one. And so I've done that with the food that I do, and like a lot like vending and creating things and challenging myself to learn more.
So did you start from home? Do you have an industrial kitchen site? So how did this business evolve?
Yeah, I'm still feel like I've started with workshops and kind of like doing community pop-ups. I'm still working on getting the industrial kitchen thing set up. So I do a lot of workshops more, and then like, or we'll bake for folks or do like fundraisers or things like that. I'm still in like the baby steps. You know, I have like a full-time job and like other things going on too. And so I'm still like getting there. And my goal is to one day have like a community cultural cafe, right, where I can share my food with folks, but also bring in kind of that social justice lens into the things that I continue to do.
Awesome. Before we get started, we have saludos. Edith Rincon from Monrovia, Laura Ramos from Santa Clarita, Elaine Zamora from University Hills in Los Angeles.
Awesome.
So people are chiming in, saying hello.
Yeah.
But without further ado, I pass on the mic to you and show us what you're going to make for us today.
Awesome, thank you. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make cauliflower ceviche with mango, and then also some Jamaica Chamoy and Vegan Micheladas. I've prepped some of the ingredients already so that I can have enough time to show you everything. And so for the cauliflower ceviche, we have 1 head of cauliflower, and I've already prepped it. So I boiled it in a little bit of water, I cooked it, and then I chopped it into bite-sized pieces. I can show you right here. And this is
when you were boiling it, how long did you just like subpar boil? I mean, like, is it mushy? Like how long? What's the consistency for folks who want to replicate this at
so
home?
it's about 10 minutes. And so I saved the floret so you can kind of see. So you want it cooked, but you want it to still have a little bit of crunch to it, right? You don't want it too mushy. And so once you have it a little bit cooked, you can drain it and rinse it, kind of like how you're cooking broccoli, right? You don't want your broccoli to turn like lime green, right? So like same with like cauliflower, you want it cooked, but not too mushy. You still want it to have some texture. For this recipe, it's very, you can adapt it. So if you don't like cauliflower, you can use raw jicama, like you can shred raw jicama. You can also use coconut, fresh coconut that you chop into little pieces. You use soy curls. I've seen people use chickpeas too. So, you know, you can always adapt. That's the beauty of cooking, right? And so what we'll do for this, I have my cauliflower and I have a pot that I'm using. You can use like a Tupperware or whatever container. We're going to be putting this in the fridge. And so I have a pot. It's just easier to, you know, cover it with a lid. And so I have my cauliflower here and I have my other ingredients that I'm using today. We're going to be using mango. So I have 1 mango that I chopped and peeled. It's right there. And so you want it into bite-sized pieces. You want all of the pieces to be about the same size. So adding that. For this recipe, I'm using also carrots. This is 3 carrots that I peeled and diced into little pieces, again, bite-sized pieces. If your carrots are bigger, I used 3. Mine were really small and skinny, and so you might need less. And then I used 1 cucumber. My cucumber was pretty big, so it's right here. I peeled it and cut it. If you don't like the seeds, you can also scoop out the seeds and cut it. I don't mind them, but I do peel it. So I added to my pot. And then I have a piece of onion. This is about 1/4 of a red onion that I chopped into little pieces. If you don't like onion, some people don't like onion, so they might not include it, but I feel like it adds, you know, another profile of flavors. And then I have tomatoes. So here is 2 tomatoes that, again, I chopped them. You can also de-seed them if you don't want that, but I don't mind it. So I'm gonna add it to the pot that I have here. And then I have about 1/4 of a cup of ketchup. I'm using like organic ketchup from like Trader Joe's. You can use any ketchup you have, but sometimes the organic ones have less sugar if you don't like sugar. If you don't like ketchup, you can use like tomato juice, or you can also omit it as well. And then I have about 1/4 of a cup of limes that I already squeezed and prepped. So this was about 4 limes, the juice of them. So depending on how many you have. So then I'm just gonna pour it in here. And then I have about, this is also about like 1/4 of a cup of chopped cilantro. You know, I just got like it was like 2 handfuls and I chopped it. Again, if you don't like cilantro, you can also omit. That's the great thing about like recipes, right? You can just omit things. So I'm just gonna go ahead and mix everything. Before I do that, I'm gonna add some hot sauce. If you wanna add some jalapeños or some slices of serranos, today I'm just using like hot sauce that I have on hand. And you can add, I'm adding several dashes because I want it to have a lot of flavor, but if you don't want hot sauce, you don't have to add it. And then you can also add an avocado. I'm gonna add it at the end just so that the plate looks pretty, but you can add it there. I like to add it at the end because then so it doesn't brown. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix this. I'm also adding a little bit of salt. So this is about like a pinch of sea salt that I already have. So I'm gonna mix it. And you want everything to mix really well. You can eat it, as it is, or you can also put it in the fridge for a couple hours to let the flavors marinate. The thing I like about this recipe is that, it gets people interested in vegan food. Vegan food can sometimes feel inaccessible, or it can feel like, oh, that's not, like of my culture, but there's a lot of plant-based foods in our culture sometimes. And so this kind of helps, convince those folks. And like I said, you can try with other ingredients if you don't like cauliflower as the base. And it might convince more folks. So here we have it. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in a plate. You can also eat this on tostadas. You make tostadas, you can eat it by itself. You can eat it with crackers or chips. You can also do like jicama chips if you want. And a little bit more. So I'm just serving it here. And I have some avocado slices here that I'm gonna add. And I really like blue corn chips. So I'm adding some blue corn chips to eat in snacks. So you can use it like a dip. Trying to get everything together. But it's like a picture right here. Kind of see it. So you just dip it and you eat it. I was once doing a pop-up and there was this dude that kept coming and buying tostadas from me because he's like, these are so good, they're addictive, but it's so easy to make, especially right now, right when it's in Southern California getting a little bit more hot, right? We have spring approaching, and so it's always nice to eat something refreshing, and this is really refreshing and tasty. Yeah, so that's the cauliflower mango ceviche. If you don't have the mango, you don't have to include it. You can just use the cauliflower. But yeah, do you have any questions about that one?
We just have some saludos. We have from Sarah Portnoy, a friend from USC, Abril Magaña. Saludos from La Puente. I made it too. Yeah.
Awesome. La Puente is awesome. Cool. So that's the cauliflower.
No, tell us more about your journey. I mean, just like how much test writing did you have to do? I mean, like really what cookbooks do you have the share to our viewers? I know like for La Cocina, which we'll be opening up later this year, once we're over the COVID and everybody's safe. I'm planning on doing a plant-based series.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing a lot of reading, but I'm always looking for other authors. Do you have any authors that could help us out?
Yeah, so Luz Calvo is amazing. So this recipe, I was part of the, she used to have a decolonial club on Facebook. And so she had kind of like the base of this. And I just kept playing around with the recipe. So I started talking to family and they're like, oh, did you know in my ceviche I put carrots? Oh, did you know I put this? I started seeing other blogs where they're like, ketchup with this makes it taste like this. So kind of just started playing. So I think Luz Calvo and Decolonize Your Diet in front of me, and my stands I have Nopalito. So I have cookbooks that are not necessarily vegan, but I like to play with them, right? And kind of like Nopalito, I have a Colima cookbook. I'm trying to think other, I can't remember, it doesn't have the name. There's also a lot of vegan like cooks like Isa Chandra. So I look at the preparations. How do they prepare things, right? With beans. And then I kind of apply some of the flavors, right? A lot of the flavors that my mom used, right? Growing up, everything was with chile, or like, she would make birria or like tatemado or things like that had guajillo and different flavors. And so kind of like learning and watching folks cook. YouTube has a lot of great things too. I'm trying to think, Sweet Potato Soul is great. She has a cookbook out too. Yeah, those are some of the folks that I can think about, but there's a lot, and there's a lot of also vegan Latinx folks that are doing a lot of great work. Veggie Mijas, they're a collective and they have a lot of chapters throughout the United States. I'm trying to think other folks. Yeah, so there's a lot of great work and a lot of great recipes out there right now. Vegan birria is really popular, right? A lot of folks are kind of putting their own twist, and so yeah, there's a lot of recipes that are out there, and they're really incorporate a lot of the flavors of our community.
Yeah, thank you for your sharing your knowledge with us. I have like a collection of cookbooks, looking at vegan cookbooks. One person who's a great friend to La Plaza, she's taught for us a couple times, is Jocelyn Ramirez, Todo Verde, and her book is La Vida Verde. And it's just so I think she did one of our early in casa sessions. But I'm always looking for new talent, and I'm so happy to have met you and follow you through Instagram. So when you do your pop-ups, obviously you're based in San Diego. Are you at farmers markets or special events? Like, how can people in San Diego, when we go travel, how can we find you?
Yeah, so usually when things are not during COVID season, usually like community events. What I've been doing lately is kind of having treat boxes, so offering different, so monthly. So I usually post about them on Facebook when I usually do assorted like baked goods for folks, just because that's something that you don't have to heat it up, or you don't have to is easier. But usually it's like at community events. My goal is to start being at farmers markets. I think we're still a little bit of a ways from that, just given the current health crisis that we're experiencing at the moment.
We have some friends. Our friend Isabel Rojas Williams, she says it looks delicious. And also Vivian Gutierrez says, Hola Maribel from La Puente.
Yay! Hola.
That's great. You went to school in La Puente, and so did I. So I guess we had some rivalry. I went to Nogales. What high school did you go to again?
Yes, I went to Workman High School. It's
Workman.
technically in City of Industry, but it's still La Puente. It's like a street difference.
So again, that's great. Tell us about your michelada that you're going to make for us.
Yes, so micheladas are very popular, right? And usually they're made with clamato, which has clam juice, right? Which is not necessarily vegan. And so I'm making my own vegan michelada, and I'm going to show you how to make it with fresh ingredients, right? So a lot of times you buy the juice that's already pre-made, but today I'm showing you how to make it from scratch. Today, I think the recipe that I had shared with you all, I doubled it. So today I kind of halved it just because it's just for me. But here, typically it has 2 tomatoes that I add to a blender. And I've already prepped that here. Depending on your kind of blender you have, you might have to chop them a little bit, right? I just kind of put them in quarters. And so it's right here. So you need 2 tomatoes, about 1/3 of a celery stalk, which is kind of weird to add celery, but it really adds a depth of flavor, right? If you were to make like a broth, you would add celery, right? And then we have about 1/4 of a piece of carrot that I added. And then 2.5 cups of water is what you usually add. And then to this mixture, I'm gonna add about 1 tablespoon of vegan Worcestershire sauce. So I have this one, you can kind of see what it is.
Usually Worcestershire sauce it's got fish in it, so it's got that umami flavor when you put it into your food. So I've never seen that. What's in that?
This one has like apple cider vinegar, molasses, soy sauce, tamarind paste. I can kind of show the ingredients. Maybe you can see them. And so it has, it says it's vegan, and usually you can find it like at a health food store. So if you like Sprouts or Whole Foods or whatever equivalent, or if you were to buy it online, you could find it there. So yeah, it was a treat when I found this. I was like, wait, I can make so many things with that. So for this, we're gonna add about 1/2 tablespoon. Since I'm doing 1/2 of that, I'm gonna add a little bit less. And then we're also gonna add about 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. So here I have some soy sauce. You just, again, find it wherever you go to the store. Soy sauce is pretty accessible. And so I'm gonna add about 1 tablespoon to this mixture. Oh, I'm gonna add a little bit less. And then I really want it to be spicy. So I'm adding Chile De Arbol. So I have the ground Chile De Arbol, and then salt. This is a mixture, so it's going to be a little bit salty. But you know, again, your preferences, right? If you don't like things as salty, or you're watching your salt, you would add less. So I'm adding about half a teaspoon. Again, I'm halving it, so I'm adding half of that. And then 1.5 teaspoons of salt usually is what you add. So I'm going to add that. And then to this mixture, I've already added the juice. Oh, no, I haven't added. Nope, I've already added the juice of 4 limes. So I'm going to go ahead and blend it. Depending on the blender that you have, you might have to blend more, right? Or you might have to add a little bit more water. This one's pretty strong, so it does pulverize everything, but you know your equipment that you're working with, right? And you might have to strain a little bit, but the flavor will still be there, and you know it'll still be delicious. So I'm gonna go ahead and blend it. So it's gonna be a little bit loud. So it should be good. I had it on the smoothie setting, so it was, but depending on your blender again, I'm gonna go ahead and get some ice. So I have a cup with ice, and actually I'm gonna take a step back. I have my ice ready to go, right? And I have my juice here. And I told you I was gonna show you how to make the chamoy, right? Chamoy is very popular, but it's so easy to make and it's so delicious. So what I did, I have it here. I already blended it. I have to let it cool before I add the citrus. And so I've already done that. But this is chamoy. What I did is I had about, this is half of a portion, but usually not a portion, but like the whole batch that I made. But usually you add 1 cup of dried apricots, 1 cup of pitted dates. You have to watch out for the pits, right? Because it can mess up your blender and you don't want to eat that. 1 cup of Jamaica or hibiscus flowers, right? That you would usually use to make agua de Jamaica. And then 3 cups of water. So what you'll do is you'll put all of these ingredients that I've mentioned in a pot, and you let them cook for about 10 minutes, right? Once you've let them cook for about 10 minutes, you're gonna blend it until you get this consistency, right? If you feel like it's too thick, you can add more water to liquid, to be more liquidy. For a dip, this is pretty good. But you know, if you wanted to put it over candy or make gummies, right? Those are really popular. You could do that too. So again, with this, I cooked my apricots, pitted dates, Jamaica, water, and I usually add it to a blender. I add about 1/2 cup of sugar, a tablespoon of salt, and then again, Chile De Arbol, because I like the flavor of that. So I added about 1/4 cup. So I added half of that to this one. It's very spicy. So if you don't like spicy, you can use less. I just really like the Chile De Arbol flavor, and I think it, you know, it's delicious. So like I said, I've let this cool, and now I'm gonna add the citrus to it, right? To add more kind of a flavor profile. So typically you add 1 orange. Like I said, I'm making half a portion. So I'm gonna add 1 orange. If you have a fancy like orange juicer, you can use that. I'm just using my hands right now, so it might not be the most perfect. You can also use a spoon, right? To like hold it and take it out. And then I'm gonna use the juice. Here I have 2 lemons, but if you were to make a full batch, you can use more. So again, limes. I always get confused because in Spanish son limones, and then English are limes, and then I have to translate it. So that's always a struggle. My bowl is getting a little bit full, but you're just gonna mix this so that all the flavors kind of mix together. And like, you didn't waste the Jamaica, you used it, right? Usually when you make agua de Jamaica, unless you're cooking with it, a lot of folks cook with it, you might just throw it away, right? Or compost it. This way it's edible and you can make quickly chamoy. And another thing about this recipe, you can use whatever dried fruit you want. So if you don't have, or you don't want to use apricots or dates, you could use, like, for the apricots, you could use dried mango. You could also use, instead of the dates add sweetness and kind of caramelization. You can use raisins or prunes. I like dates and I usually have them around, so that's why I use dates. So this is your chamoy. What you're gonna do is you're gonna prep your cup. So I have a cup here, and then just gonna put some on top. You can be generous, or if you don't like it as much. I've seen people use their like cans of drinks in it. I'm using a cup today, but I have this, and I have my ice. So I have ice here, and we're gonna go back to the juice that I made earlier. So it kind of like mixed a little bit, and there's bubbles, but we're gonna go ahead and add this. And you would just top this with beer, or you know, if you have a favorite sparkling water or kombucha. Sometimes people make kombucha floats or different things if you like kombucha, but I'm using sparkling water right now, just because that's like refreshing, and it's a Monday, you know, it's family friendly.
While you're pouring away, Liz Sanchez, saludos desde New York City.
Saludos.
And on Zoom, we're passing on this delicious recipe out to folks, but let's see. Laura Ramos says, thank you.
Oh, it's spicy, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then also Rosa Angelica, the chamoy looks beautiful.
Thank
Yum.
you.
I gotta try that, the chamoy.
Yeah, I've made gummies, like Sour Patch Kids are accidentally vegan. You can make gummies with them, or fruit, you know, you can dip apples or any kind of mango, and it's really delicious, really easy to make. You can make some for yourself and your friends, and yeah.
So what other stuff when you, in your pop-ups, what other items do you offer for your pop-ups?
Yeah, so usually I'll do aguas frescas. So I really like horchata or Jamaica. So I'll make a plant-based horchata with almond milk or soy milk and almonds. Other stuff that I will usually make is carrot tinga, you know, or carrot carne deshebrada, using the same kind of seasoning you would for like carne de res, but instead using shredded carrots, and it really holds well those flavors, and it adds an element of sweetness. So I like to make tostadas. So those are some of the things I make. I've also been exploring with pan dulce a lot lately. So during this quarantine time, like everybody, I was making sourdough and yeasted bread, and so it's been a great lesson to learn about like fermentation and things rising, temperature, and you know, I'm definitely learning a lot of those skills, and I hope that I can only get better, hopefully.
We have a question from Rosa Angelica. Can you repeat again what are the portions that you did for the chamoy one more time, please?
Yeah, I actually also typed up the recipe. Can you see it? So 1 cup dried apricots, 1 cup of pitted dates, 1 cup of Jamaica, 3 cups of water, half a cup of sugar, 1 tablespoon of salt, 1/4 cup of Chile De Arbol, the juice of 1 orange, and then the juice of 3 limes. And what I showed you is only half of that portion. So it would make a whole bunch, right? So that's there.
That's amazing. Thank you. That I learn every time we do these shows, I learn so much more, and to eat healthier, just different ways of doing. We have here Mickey Hall says, thank you. She can't wait to try. And again, if you're ever in Los Angeles, please come up and see us at La Plaza. We will be opening up La Cocina soon. You know, I would love to have you back on site, maybe teaching a class, showing people tips to really kind of encourage folks to really dive into alternative ways of sharing Mexican cuisine in a healthier version with vegan cuisine.
Definitely. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much, Maribel. Thank you, Jimena. That was incredible. And as usual, on this side of En Casa con La Plaza, it takes me a couple weeks to finally get to the recipes, but thank you for sharing them. And I'm sure we're going to try it at our home as well. Laura Ramos says, awesome. That chamoy looks so easy to make. My girls always want me to buy them mangoneadas, and I don't because of the dye. Now I will make it for them.
Yeah, definitely. You can experiment with tamarindo too. That would be delicious.
All right. Well, that's it. Questions. Thank you so much to everybody that tuned in today to En Casa con La Plaza Cocina. Maribel, of course, and Jimena. Coming up next week here on En Casa con la Plaza, we have, it's Women's History Month, of course. And so Jimena is bringing us week after week of puras mujeres, showing us their skills. Next week, we have peneques, which are stuffed tortillas, with Leslie Teles, author of Eat Mexico. So that's next Monday at March 8th at 3 p.m. Thank you so much for that. Later on this week, we have on Wednesday, March 3rd, again for National Women's History Month, we have Spirals of Time with Mujeres de Maíz. Mujeres de Maíz, of course, is a collective of mujeres who will be sharing their own specific blend of mind, body, spirit, and cultural work, which started 24 years ago. So we'll have two representatives, Claudia Mercado and Maritza Alvarez, joining us this Wednesday at 7 o'clock on En Casa con la Plaza. And finally, Dan Guerrero Happy Hour with guest Oscar Quintero and also known as K. Cedilla. So that should be fun. But in the meantime, thank you all who joined us today. The recipes, of course, we have them on Zoom. Iris Rincon is asking, do you have an IG account, Maribel?
I do. It's Vegan Xicana with an X, so VEGANXICANA, Vegan Xicana. And I also have a website where I have recipes. It's also veganchicana.com. And I have an ebook if you want to check it out with different brunch recipes. But there's also a lot of other recipes too that are free and accessible and you can check out.
All right. And what was the URL for your website? Vegan Xicana?
.com.
Okay. All right. So you have it there. I just posted on the chat and the comment section on Facebook, the Instagram, and I'll do the same with if I have my fingers fly fast enough, veganchicana.com, correct?
Sí.
All right, there you go. So there's no excuse for all of you out there to try out these recipes and to learn more about Maribel and her fabulous vegan cooking out of San Diego. So thank you again to all of you who joined us today. Thanks to our sponsors, Kaiser Permanente and PepsiCo. And we'll see you next week. All right. And if not, before. All right. Bye-bye a todos. Hasta la próxima.